Happy Monday, everybody. I hope everyone had a fabulous weekend. We are excited for today's call, not only because I know most of you are on the call expecting us to do an update with NowSite. There was an emergency and NowSite had a push, so we'll be doing that next week. What I will update you, though, in regards to what NowSite the call was going to be about was. Um, NowSite has created and identified several channels, especially due to compliance with us in the many different countries that we're in, the many different languages. And so, what they were going to launch today was really WhatsApp groups to help really diversify their training efforts in multiple different languages, especially in regards to our business and compliance and some of the things that you can say and how to share via social media. And so we were going to launch the I think it's the first 90 days free for anyone for the upgraded version to use their system. They were also going to launch links to get access to these WhatsApp groups and to start being able to engage with their team to help leverage, specifics because we know everyone here treats their business, their root business differently. And so we thought that it would have been a good time to start that for the first of the month to really do a contest about posting and engaging with customers. And so I apologize on behalf of NowSite. We're going to push that call to next week. And today we are going to do some different training. And I think that's why Clay was here, Mr. The Clayton Yamas. And he's going to be here talking a little bit about the Trinity and some other aspects of that. So I'll give it away to him.
I'm dealing with my own little emergency. I have no power at my house.
Oh no.
So trying to figure that part out as we get going. But let's dive into some fun stuff. Let's do this as kind of an open dialogue so we can talk about the Trinity, because I don't want to go off on my own. Because me and you, Dylan and Duquesne, might have some commentary on this with what we've learned. But the important part for our foundation, I like to talk about intelligent design. And when Christina was building the foundation for Root, it was built on these three, right? Hence the Trinity. And there's symbolism in everything.
A lot of what we want to talk to you about and the significance about the Trinity. And we know that a lot of you are very experienced and knowledgeable about the Trinity. But I think what's really educational about this and from a training perspective is a lot of you share clean slate. A lot of you really focus on that one particular product. And I think what we really wanted to look at, and there was a significant amount of growth in clean slate, I believe, right, Duquesne, after Clayton did the training. When was that? A couple weeks ago, right?
I think it was a week ago. No, it must have been because last week was Memorial Day. So it must have been 2 weeks ago. But immediately after Clayton did that talk on Clean Slate, we had about a 10% boost in Clean Slate sales, which is great. And we love that. And so we've realized the importance of kind of talking about these products and deep diving in even though they've been around for a while, because it seems like people gained a lot of new knowledge. Even though there's videos out there in the past on YouTube, it's good for us to re-hit those. And so we want to re-emphasize on some of these products. But what we've noticed is that sometimes people get too hung up on just Clean Slate. And look, Clean Slate is gonna always be the top product, I would assume. Um, but not everybody is always prepared to listen to Clean Slate. And so there is two other products, part of the Trinity, that are very important to understand in a deep dive information. And so we want to hit on those. But also it's important to understand how the Trinity works together because there is a lot of importance on the Trinity being a pack for a certain reason. And Dr. Ram designing the Trinity with those three products specifically for a purpose.
Hey, Duquesne, I think a cool thing, I forgot I have my shirt on today. Um, I actually did a call with Nick Benyamin, and on the shirts we all have for the root brands, it's a plus divided by minus, which means taking out the bad and supplementing with the good. It's addition by subtraction, which means that clean slate helps remove the toxins, restore can put the good nutrients back in, repairs the gut, which is where the basis of most health is, and zero in is the basis of brain function. So uh, that's a quick way to do that. I know we need to go further in detail of those three, but I just want to say that's like the basis of when I joined the company, what I was told was the basis is addition by subtraction. And I was told these three products are the way to go about doing that. So I thought it was kind of funny. I was wearing the shirt.
Yeah, so that's actually a good segue. And we've said on these calls in prior circumstances and really talking, and we'll do a little bit of like engagement because I want to have the community participate, is we talk about how Clean Slate is like one of the most intangible products that we have, right? And it's our foundational product. It's our most popular product, but it's also the product. And what I mean by intangible means that you take it, and sometimes a lot of you don't really feel anything. It's kind of like taking a multivitamin many, many years ago. You just kind of took it because, you were expected to get vitamins and nutrients and benefits from it.
I
But
want to
again, go ahead.
I just want to say my first experience with clean slate was not that I felt nothing. I don't know if you took the first time I tried clean slate, I was talking mad crap about it. Like, oh, I'm 6'3", 230. I can take two droppers and be completely fine. And I flushed my system like that. I don't know if I think I might have came in late the next day.
You did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was. So no, sometimes people don't feel anything, but I felt the immediate effects of me flushing the toxins out of my body.
So let's have a little bit of group interaction. So everyone on the call has tried Clean Slate. Raise your hands all on if you have experienced some sort of you can know that Clean Slate made a change in your health, your body, you felt an effect from it, you had a detox from it, what have you. I see a thumbs up, I see a hand raised. There we go. Everyone, I mean, some of you, this is a good test. Lucas, thank you. Claire, I see you. Martina, lovely. Nicole, thank you for that. That's really good. Awesome. I see the smiley face, Jennifer. Okay, now let's do another one. I'm going to lower everyone's hands. How many individuals on the call had an immediate notice and or response in their body from zero in or restore? Thank you, Duquesne. Zero in and this restore. How many people felt zero in and restore? Yeah, I see thumbs up. Thank you, Sarmite. I see hand raised. I feel
Same,
like this we should
same
have
day.
60 people.
Like
Yeah, right.
same.
Like
Yeah.
within 20 minutes. Thank you, Suzanne. I see you. Lucas, thank you. Nadine, let's go. I feel it. Let's go. Roland, you can raise your hand too. Come on, Roland. I know you're translating, but let's go. Let's get it going. Look at that. So we got probably a page and a half of hands raised, and I see people. Yeah, there. I see you, Roland. Thank you. So that's what we mean by an intangible response to what our products do. And I know that Dylan was really alluding to addition by subtraction. When we're talking about aspects of what these do, we oftentimes at events to help, and I don't want to say dumb it down, but really help boil down a quick interaction with an individual, because you think about it, it's kind of like a nonstop elevator pitch. Every time you're at an event, you got that like short little window when somebody's walking by and you're like, hey, you want a free sample or have you heard of our products? It's like Clean Slate, Zero In, and Restore, the Trinity, is often referred to, and I learned this from Clay, as a Control Alt Delete to really like your operating system, right? It's really the foundational. Think of like rebooting your computer. It's almost like a reboot for your body. And it's a really foundational piece to set the stage for what is going to happen from taking out the bad and filling it up with the good.
And
I'll
I
stop
do
there and
think
pause. Thank you, Duquesne. Go ahead.
I do think that's one thing as we're at events that make our company so different. And that's why we want you all to understand this because there are a lot of detoxes out there. Um, I would say Clean Slate is top tier, but when you go to a biohacking event or a wellness event, I can promise you there will be 5 or 6 other products or forms of detox out there.
Yep.
But when we ask how many other companies out there have a 3-step process that help rebuild your body up after you've done that, that help you add in the good after cleaning out, every time I've gone to an event, I hear time after time, oh, that's different. Oh, so you all have something that will help after the detox as well. And every time we have people come back, either because they've tried other places and realize, well, this company is not only going to, help you detox, but they're also going to help you live the best life after that. And it really sets our company apart. And so that is something that right now in our world is very much needed because people don't only want to hear about your body is toxic, you need to clean it out. They want to also hear about what can you do after you've cleaned it out. They want to hear about what are the next steps? How can you help me live a better life? And that's where Restore and Zero In show a more immediate impact. And because of that, it really resonates with people. And I know Dylan and Patrick will go a little bit more into the science of how those products help with this 3-step process. But I want you all to realize that not only is Clean Slate what separates our company, the Trinity in itself, because we are offering solutions, not just a detox, but steps after that, is very important for every ambassador to realize that sets us apart.
So
It's actually a really good point. Go ahead, Dylan.
I do want to mention, because I've been to plenty of biohacking events with Patrick, the detoxes, I'm going to put those air quotes, the detoxes you'll see there are some wild things that it's tough to imagine because a lot of those companies don't have the science that back those products or their solutions for detoxing. There's not much science behind it, which is why Clean Slate's so amazing because we've done the blood work. We've shown the case studies. We have the backing to show what the product can do. And if anyone's skeptical, we always recommend they can take a blood sample test to see their heavy metal levels before the product. So I know everyone's got their own detox. Some people detox with juice cleanses and they flush their entire system. There's a different way to detox for what people are doing. Ours is just backed by science. And I think that's one of the biggest things that while going to these events, I've noticed a lot of them have no real backing. And then one thing I want to mention, because we talked about Zero In, I know I saw Lucas in the comment section saying, loving to see people's reaction with Zero In after they've taken it for the first time. I love seeing people who've taken Clean Slate for a month and then try Zero In and seeing how well the Zero In product works when their body's flushed of all toxins. So I know that's kind of a segue into how Clean Slate propels the absorption of other nutrients. And then one more thing, Duquesne, my first time trying Zero In actually was a concert we went to, and Clayton did not warn me that I shouldn't be taking 5. He just handed me 5 loose pills and said, "Go ahead." Uh, and then we went to a concert, and I was having a good time.
Um, and I do want to just preface, at no point as we're talking about this are we saying that Clean Slate is not important. That is why we did start this talk talking about it being our top product.
Mhm.
So we are not minimizing Clean Slate. We are not saying don't talk about it. We just want to give those extra talk tracks so you all can build off of that. And so I just want to reemphasize that so that we don't upset anybody, because we have brought this up on a couple country calls and people sometimes feel like we're saying something we're not. So we are not
Oh,
minimizing Clean Slate. We are just telling you next steps, how you can build on Clean Slate if maybe you have customers who are stuck on just Clean Slate and haven't ever tried anything else.
Do we
Actually, I
want?
think it might be good. Sorry, Dylan, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Go
I was going to call on Lucas, and Lucas didn't know I was going to call on him. But Lucas, yeah, I know you put in the chat that Dylan made reference to. Maybe it might be good. What was your observation at the event? You obviously were interacting with individuals. You heard myself and some other really key ambassadors that have done events before do like that elevator pitch, primarily focusing on the Trinity. What did you take away from the event? And, tell a little bit more about your interaction with people sampling the zero in and then coming back later and talking about it.
Yeah, sure. I just think about I can do it in English or in German. So
Whichever you prefer, yeah.
yeah,
We
so like when I speak about London, I do it in English. So it was very great because, for example, hearing you speaking about, for me, a special part was the coffee. Getting to know more information about it, like the background information about the coffee, how you speak with the people, and don't like explaining them everything on the behinds of the chemical stuff of the product. So just get a feeling of the people. So like, oh, you're looking like you need a little bit more energy, or with the sampling of zero in. It was very fantastic because there are two capsules in one of those sample packs. And when we give it to them, it's like, if you want, you can take both now, came back later, half an hour. So because then we see the reaction in your face, because people came back, they smiling, the glance in the eyes. It was so amazing to see the reaction and that the people are responding like it's, yeah, they can't believe it. So that was so amazing to hearing you, hearing Matt, Sandy, and everyone speaking about the products in different kind of ways. But the first and important stuff or things for me were like, don't give them all the information. Ask the people, what are their needs? What are their topics they have to, they struggle with at the moment? And then like giving them a chance to test the product to see or feel how they, how the body reacts to them. That was very interesting.
That's awesome. Great feedback, and I appreciate you. Sorry, I didn't mean to call on you off the cuff, but I felt like, after seeing your comment, it's good to get really firsthand interaction because not everyone on the call has been or had the luxury to, if not do an event, but be with a Dylan, a Duquesne, a Sandy, a Marina, a Matt, and work the booth and really hear, if you think about it, I'll say Dylan and I, we've had the luxury to be able to like refine our elevator pitch so much. And we talk about this before, is that Dylan's really mastered the way in which it's almost like he has a sixth sense of reading somebody, right? And understanding like, oh, I'm not going to talk to them about Give Me Back My Youth, or I'm only going to talk to them about Crush because they look like they work out. There's so many different facets to this. And obviously, I know we're talking about the Trinity today, but it's good interaction because we sample zero in so much.
Mhm. I do want to push it into Duquesne. Should we talk about the science of like what the Trinity does, removing things out, and the Restore's basics of what the Restore does to the body?
Yeah,
To
and I was thinking, I mean, I've heard you and Patrick, I basically copy your all's like Trinity pitch now at this point. And I thought it would just be useful if people could hear how you all will bring up the Trinity, because I know at events, you and Patrick will usually have the Trinity together, like in a little bundle,
Mhm.
as kind of a conversation starter. So people say, like, well, what do these do? Because you very intentionally put the three together. And so
Mhm.
maybe if you all could just give your short elevator pitch so people see how you do it in a minute, because what I've heard from the community is that they sometimes overwhelm people, kind of like what Lucas was mentioning. They go maybe too in depth and then people don't grasp it. Well, I've seen you all fit a lot of information into a minute that causes people to ask questions, which is what you want.
Yeah. Patrick, do you want to start or do you want me to start or how?
Why don't you take it, buddy?
All right. Well, first thing we already talked about clean slate, what the benefits are. That's almost always what we'll start with biohacking events. We'll say clean slate's a stable product. Here's what's inside of it. Here's what it does. Here's what you can expect. Then if you take them over to Restore and you talk about the ingredients of Restore, D-ribose, resveratrol, black cumin seed, aloe vera powder, turmeric root extract, if you go through those really quickly and you tell them these ingredients are going to be multiplied inside your body if they don't have toxins holding back your receptors. If you can take in fully what's inside this product, it not only is going to affect your well-being, but over time it's going to help your joints, your gut health, and your actual skin health too. So taking in clean slate as the minus, and then adding in those good nutrients, natural ingredients of the most bioavailable sourcing that you can get. Turmeric from the root extract is the most bioavailable form that you can possibly imagine. I always tell them you'll notice after about a month time, your joints feel better, you recover faster from the gym, but also just walking around, you're going to be more energetic. And from Patrick's side of things, you can actually have better gut health. And I know I need that too. So that's how I tie in Restore in a quick way by talking about the ingredients and what they can possibly do and the benefit of combining them with Clean Slate.
I
Really
will
quick.
say one of the
Go ahead.
things I've seen Dylan and Patrick both do is they will even say, Google one of these ingredients and see what it says the benefits are. And they let the ingredients prove their points.
Yeah. And
And
I actually got to the point of I never say benefits or claims of a product. I always talk about what an ingredient can do
Yes.
because there's no question of what that might be. And anyone who questions that, we can, like Duquesne mentioned, sometimes I do it out of spite. But I do have people Google ingredients to prove to them that the actual stuff inside the product is what it says it is. Um, a good example is N-acetyl L-tyrosine, which is the first blend in the proprietary blend of Zero In. The N-acetyl version of L-tyrosine is the most bioavailable form. So yeah, you might have a product on your shelf that has L-tyrosine and L-theanine, but we have the most bioavailable forms of those that go in tandem with each other. And that's how I talk about the products. I talk about how they work off each other and how they couple with each other too.
Yes. Really quick before I jump in, does anyone have any questions about what Dylan went through or anything that we're discussing? Please raise your hand, unmute yourself, jump in. Stephanie, I saw you raise your hand, but I don't know if you had a question. No,
No, it was just AI that was lifting my hand.
I love that.
I do want to say, if you all had noticed, what usually happens is Dylan's little talk track was a minute long right there. But out of it, he hit on 4 or 5 different points that usually will cause questions to come up.
Yeah.
But he is very intentional about stopping at a minute. He doesn't take over the conversation and try to continue to sell it. He leaves it off so that there can be a progression of conversation afterwards, which is very important.
I will say too, because I know Patrick's actually better than me at this. You want to say things that get intrigue. You want people to question, how's that possible? What do you mean the combination here works like that? And like
Mhm.
Duquesne mentioned, nobody wants to get sold a product. They want to get sold a solution. That's why we don't try to sell things. We tell them what they can achieve out of taking this product. I don't say, hey, you got 74 bucks. Here's Restore. No, it's here's the benefits. At no point did I talk during that 1 or 2 minutes about them buying a product. I gave them information to let them know more about what they could do.
So, I'll share my screen because I want everyone, does everyone see my screen? Is that a yes?
Yes.
So typically, anytime that we're at an event and these are in your back office, we always have the brochures. And as Duquesne mentioned, we usually set the products up on the table, on a countertop, on a bar top. And so usually we always have our brochures out. So not only do we have the product so the person can feel it, they can touch it, they can hold it, they can look at the label, but we also have the brochures which have the bullet points of, the top few things in which what these products do. And so every time that I set the stage of where I'm introducing somebody into the brand, I'm always going to go to the foundational product line. This is our foundational pack. We call it the Trinity. And so how we start is, and I try to almost utilize the language where I'm not going to say, oh, detox. Um, I'm going to say eradicate environmental pollutants. I talk a little bit about how we're constantly being bombarded, not only by the air that we breathe, the food that we eat, and the water that we drink, but Clean Slate is going to be the response to be able to pull out from a cellular level how to pull heavy metals and toxicity out of the body. It's also going to help decalcify the pineal gland. I then stop, jump in the zero in. Because you're decalcifying the pineal gland, zero in is going to help with neurotransmission, focus, clarity, happiness, naturally producing serotonin and dopamine endogenously from the gut to the brain. And I go into a couple of bullet points about zero in. Sometimes I talk about how I track my sleep, right? So you're able to get into REM sleep a little bit more. Then we talk a little bit about the endogenous production of DMT when you get into deep and REM sleep, talk a little bit about regulating HRV, and it really depends on the individual that I'm talking to. And then I go and I leave a little bit more time to talk about Restore because I talk about my personal journey with celiac disease and how Restore has helped me really reset my gut microbiome. And sometimes, depending on the individual or conversation, I'll explain a little bit of like, are you familiar with chelation therapy? Chelation therapy also oftentimes is a detoxing, but what it does is it pulls everything out. It's very expensive. You often have to remineralize and introduce vitamins and supplements back in your body because chelation therapy rips everything out. And I talk about how there's some similarities to what Clean Slate does, but it's not as vigorous. It's not as rough. But when I explain restore, I'm talking about how you're bringing back the good, the nutrients, the vitamins, the supplements, the microbiome back into the gut, and that's what restore does. And then I go through that's what the Trinity is for us. It's our foundational product line, and it sets the stage for everything after that. And then with Dylan and Duquesne and myself, when we're at an event, we lead with more answers and education so that that individual has questions. And then we might not talk about another product, but if they're open and engaged and willing to learn more or ask more, oftentimes I'll go right down the line. What was it? Relive greens, give me back my youth, immune defense shield. I'll talk about coffee, but it's at a pace in which that person that's approaching us, willing to learn more, is able to ascertain. Because Dylan has a way in which where he can raffle off very, very minute details about a lot of the ingredients. And foundationally, one of our four pillars is education. And so we always want to make sure that we're educating, not to make somebody feel less than or not as smart as us, but to help realize, oh, I do know about black cumin seed. I do know about aloe vera. I've heard of L-theanine. I've heard of tyrosine. Help me understand why these are good for me because I've seen colostrum be talked about in the news and why it's so good for us.
Yeah. I think something that's kind of cool is when you or myself or Duquesne, we talk about products. I love when someone says, "Oh, Zero One has this and this in it." Well, I have that in two different pill bottles. It's in
Mhm.
one. A lot of times when people see our Restore, especially because of how many ingredients are in there, people will say that they're already taking three or four products that contain was in a Restore. And they're usually impressed by the fact that we have everything that they take in multiple different products all in one. So that's also something I've always kind of got a little chuckle at when they do that.
Hey,
And I see,
Patrick, can you talk? I don't know if you've already done it yet. Can you talk about your first zero in experience and what you were doing before, and how many of those pills you were taking, and
Yeah,
what
and
what
I've
one
shared
compared
this
to?
very often, but I was taking a competitor's product called Alpha Brain by a company named Onnit. And I was taking 5 to 6 of those pills, 4 to 6 of those a day. That was actually the old dosage guidelines for that product. And when I interviewed Clay on my podcast, he sent me some goodies, and I took one, and it rivaled the 5 that I was taking of Alpha Brain. And oftentimes I ask the question, and we've talked about this in the past, is that if your product is good, you don't need to create different variations of said product. And what you'll see is that Onnit was actually bought out. They did an M&A with Unilever. Unilever is a investor company. And so what they did was they created two different versions of Alpha Brain. We've never changed Zero In. We've been around for 5 years. It's the same formula that it's always been, and it's never going to change. That should speak volumes. The other thing is that Clay also put in the chat. Many of you might have seen and heard Clayton talk about. One is leveraging the drcpatents.com website to help further and substantiate, put a little bit more concrete foundation around the things that you're saying when you might be questioned. The other aspect is to help further your education is we launched, it's the Blake and Amy podcast, which are deep dives on Spotify on the product, the patents. How many episodes are launched? I think 3, right?
No, there's more than that now, and they've got more coming. They're constantly doing their research to do more. We got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 so far.
Yeah, the one on the patent on Clean Slate and the one on Zero In were phenomenal. And I learned things listening to it. And so I would implore everyone on the call to give that a listen, subscribe to that podcast, and take a listen because you're going to pick up on a couple cues and things and different aspects that maybe you might not have known or understood.
And these are designed. These podcasts are designed to be real quick. They're like between 7 and 20 minutes.
Yep.
Right. So it's a lot of information done really, really well because they're really good at analyzing stuff and then talking through things really simply. And it's repeatable and shareable and it's third party. One of the big parts, and if you go to Science Nutrition Society, and all of you should join the International Science Nutrition Society, because one of the things that sets us apart, and this is something that Christina's done for 20 years in research and biotech with the government and in healthcare, and the same thing that we've done with Root, we already have the clinical data, right? There are patents that are already filed that are not up on the DRC patents website that pertain to the treatment and reversal of colon cancer, of diabetes, and autism. Those are already filed. And the reason they're filed is because we already have clinical data showing outcomes that coincide with the protocols that are already published. So we are the only, I'm going to I will argue this because I haven't seen anybody else that has it yet. We are the only nutraceutical company that has actual intellectual property backing and supporting not just the formulations themselves, not an ingredient, not just an ingredient that someone's done research on, but the formulas themselves, as well as clinical outcomes that the combination of these formulas have done to be used in combination to address issues that people are very familiar with. So when you're making a recommendation to someone, you say, well, why would you use the Trinity? It's like, well, because it works. Well, how do I know it works? Well, listen to this, or let me share with you a couple links. How far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? I think for most of you, the simple aspect is because I use it and I know it works. Because everyone you should be talking to knows you, right? And everybody after that is a matter of going, great. How do you want to see evidence? Do you want intellectual property? Do you want clinical data? Do you want clinical outcomes? Do you want science? Do you want testimony?
Can I
We
add?
have them all.
Yes, but a quick thing, don't give them all of it. This is
No,
talking to the person, and this is what Lucas was speaking of earlier. You have to know what they want. Listen to the person who you are talking to. You cannot say the same thing to every person. I
Yes.
do not treat Dylan the same way that I treat Kelly. They are different people. I don't treat Clayton the same way I treat Patrick. You interact with humans differently, and that's what makes us special, is that we are humans. So listen to them on a human being level, and if they want the science, give them the science. If they are a podcast person, say, "Oh, that's great. We have podcasts you can listen to." If they want to know just the testimonies, give them your testimony and then show them the reviews that are on our website. You have to, this is the number one thing I hear from the number one mistake I hear from people is that they just pitch the same thing every time and they say that their pitch isn't working. But it's because they're acting like an AI bot almost, and they're just saying the same thing to everybody. So you have to know who you're talking with and treat them like a human being. If they aren't into science, then don't don't tell them the science. Dylan and I have learned this at the gaming thing, our gaming events. They want proof. That's why zero in works so well. They want to feel it.
Yeah.
So just know the people.
Also, I will say too, the way Patrick talks at events, the way I talk, the way Duquesne talks, it's completely different for all three of us. We speak to what we're knowledgeable about, and we don't just regurgitate information. Because when you do that, you're going to have questions come at you. And if you're just spouting off nonsense, then people aren't going to understand what you're talking about, and they're not going to trust the product. So the most beneficial way, if you know Clean Slate, how it works with Restore and Zero In, how the Trinity works as a unit, walk through those steps, walk through those products, and talk about your experiences and the things that you know to be true in your heart. And that's how you should sell the products. Don't just say what I'm saying, because I promise you, I talk way too fast to try to copy what I'm saying.
Well, if I can add something to that, because the important part is being able to share, right? So people are going to learn not only from what you say, but from what you do and how you do it, right? So if you're understanding that you have two goals. One, you want to create customers. Two, you want to create a mechanism that allows your customers to create customers. That's it. That's the secret to your success in every aspect of what we're built to do. Create customers, cause customers to create customers. Wash, rinse, repeat. So if you're trying to be the expert on everything and try to answer every question, you're not being a good teacher. Even if you might have the answers, right? I will tell you I'm fairly comfortable in believing that in most instances I know the answer. But I'm actually doing someone a disservice if I answer all the questions because I'm not teaching them how they can do the same thing that I do. Right? So I'm going to use the tools that I have in order to allow them to be successful. I'm also going to make myself available as a resource, but you want to make sure that you're using the tools you have. And this is why NowSite is something that's really important and valuable. This is why drcpatents.com is really valuable. This is why what Blake and Amy are doing now is really valuable. This is why the social media content that all of you are creating is really valuable because those are all tools that are shareable. The more tools you have, you can equate this to fishing, right? We have a bunch of our community with, I can see Stephanie and a bunch of people are coming to visit us in a couple weeks, and they're going to come hang out on the farm, and we're going to go fishing. And when you're fishing, you get a tackle box typically. So you have a bunch of different lures and hooks and swivels and bobbers and different kinds of bait that you use to catch fish. You don't throw them all in the water at one time, right? You try to find out which one is working best in that environment and you use it accordingly. Same premise. It's a matter of what Nicole just put in the group chat of know your audience. But as Duquesne was saying, It's one word, and I suck at it sometimes. Listen and hear, right? You ask, if someone asks you a question, ask them one back, right? Get clarification so you can best understand, right? If someone's like, is Clean Slate a zeolite product? Great. What do you mean by that? What what do you mean? Why do you ask? What does that mean to you? Because if you try to answer it too quick, they won't know what you're talking about. So the more information you can gather, the more successful you're going to be. Right? And just know that, and this is something that I've had to come to an understanding of over the last 3 months because of all of the noise in the health and wellness space. And I hate the term wellness if you know me. But there's a lot of people on social media that are talking about content, and they're really fifth graders. But when you understand the educational process that we all go through, you go to preschool, then you go to kindergarten, then you go to elementary school, then you go to middle school, then you go to high school, then you can go to secondary school and universities. And then from universities, you might get in postgraduate studies and doctoral studies. You're not going to have a fifth grade teacher that teaches PhD level education. You can't have PhD level education that teaches fifth graders. Christina is your PhD level. Christina teaches PhDs, right? But she also teaches fifth graders. So everybody goes through their learning curve. But the important part for you guys to understand is that your professor is the graduate level doctor that teaches those that teach. So you have the best tackle box and the best toolbox that's ever been created. And it's quite likely that you're never going to get to the bottom of it. And you don't need to, because all you have to do, one, is have the understanding of what you have, and two, share it. And I'm going to give you the third lesson. And this doesn't pertain to products or anything else. And I'm looking at Stephanie as I say this because I've had this conversation with her. And if Sandy's on here, I'm going to go back through this and I'm going to use Sandy as a reference. And I could reference about 30 to 40 people on this, actually. Let's see if Sandy's here. If he's not, I'm going to call him and beat on him over this. So here's the deal. Your income in anything that you do has nothing to do with who you are. It has everything to do with your level of service that you're creating for others. So don't be afraid of making an astronomical amount of money and don't feel bad about it, at least in what we do, because you're not selling your soul on OnlyFans. If you start getting rewarded with large amounts of points in your account that has commas, and you eventually have a number in your account that has 2 commas, right? So actually sometimes 3 commas. No, that'd be a billion. That's for later. But if you've got 2 commas in your account, it's not due to you doing something on your own. It's due to what you've done to be of service to the community that you're of service to. So, unfortunately, due to the social indoctrination process that many people have been put through, you think that you're not worthy of money. Guess what? There's no spoon. Let that part go. The greatest thing you can do is get rewarded a ton, because the only way you get rewarded a ton is by helping a lot of people, either due to direct influence or indirect influence. The cool part is doing both of them. But don't let your own limiting beliefs limit your potential to be of service to others. Think about that. That's the core. You've got the tools. We've got the solutions. It's published. You know, as we would say in sports, we put it on tape. We put it on tape 5 years ago, right? We know that if we walk into the field of competition from a product and outcome standpoint, we're going to win, not some of the time, all of the time. Unlike Sex Panther in Anchorman, where 60% of the time it works all of the time. Every single time we are going to be victorious in that, because Christina's designed all of these products based on understanding the hardware and the operating system of the human body. It's individualized, but it's also macro, because we are all built the same, even though we are all unique. She built the entire ecosystem of the product line knowing what we are. And we get to fine tune who we are based on how we use these tools, which is why we have DRCGX. So you can know you. And when you know you, and if you want to have the best conversation with people and they start asking you about products, here's what I tell people when I'm talking to them. The first thing you should probably do is know yourself. Because if you don't know you, you're never going to make a good decision anyway. You might be eating improperly. You might be exercising improperly. You might not be getting enough sleep. You might not know what you should be doing, how you should be eating, what you should be eating, and when you should be eating, or how many times a day you should be eating, and how you should be exercising, and how much exercise you should get. That's why the genetics are so important, because at that point, you're going to know you. And then through that, you're actually going to have the recommendations that are made based on you and what you should be doing. And it's kind of amazing because you can actually make money on the genetics. We actually pay our community more money than what practitioners get paid for selling testing that is less detailed than what we provide. So that means you should talk to every practitioner that you know
Hey,
to
Clay,
do what
we're
you're doing.
approaching our 10-minute mark, and I do want people to have questions over the Trinity if they have any, because
Go.
the genetic test is another training we can do, but if we do that, that will take up the whole 10 minutes.
That's true. But we're good. Let's go. Ask questions. We had some questions. Bergen, I don't look like George Clooney. My hair is filtered.
We'll do Burgett first.
Well, I just need my 10 or 15 minutes of Clayton every Monday, and then I'm happy. So please let him talk, because I was sitting here and smiling because he's the most eloquent man I know, and he can put any content into people's head. It's amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love listening to you.
I'll read some bed tales and I'll send them to you. But you have to have Thomas listen to them. Jennifer's got her hand raised.
Hi, Clayton, Patrick, Duquesne, Dylan. I'm really excited. I have my best friend since kindergarten sign up finally. She's been a customer, but she's not purchased anything.
Go.
Played this weekend, her and her husband, so I'm elated. They're getting Clean Slate. I was referencing the Clean Slate on the Root Brands dosage instructions, because she was asking me about that. It says start 1 to 2 single drops twice daily and then slowly increase 3 to 4 drops. So her question, and I'm sorry for me not knowing this, but hey, I'm still learning. When do they start on the 3 to 4 drops? Is that after 10 days, a week?
A couple days, like 3 days.
Because that's where I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other thing that I was noticing, from what I recall, Clean Slate is patented. how do you say that word?
Patented, yeah. There's multiple patents on Clean Slate and its sibling, which is Clean Spirits.
And I knew that, but on the which I'm so excited. You guys have no idea. But it didn't say on the description. It kept saying patent pending technology. So does that mean that it's still in the works, or does that need to be updated? I just want to make sure I'm giving the right information.
Duquesne just posted the link to the patent website. The cool part with drcpatents.com now is actually Blake and Amy did a little explanation of each patent. So when you go to the website, there's an audio link that you can click on that they did a deep dive into each patent to explain some of the details of each patent and what it means. So, there are patents that are pending on Clean Slate and Clean Spirits. There are also patents that are approved. And so, but this is also important when it comes to the Trinity, because like I think I mentioned, there's no silver bullet, right? So many people, and from a marketing standpoint, companies want to sell a single product because they're like, this is the greatest thing ever. Look, there's no silver bullet for anything. So when you look at the Alzheimer's patent, the autism patent, the diabetes patent, the colon cancer patent that are all filed, right? And I think they have to put those up now that they're all filed as pending. Each one of those are based on protocols that consist of 3 to 5 products typically. Clean Slate. Well, the autism patent has 2 separate protocols. The first one was Clean Slate and 0N. The second protocol is Clean Slate, 0N, Restore, Relive Greens, and I think Immune Defense Shield. So someone can start with one and then move into the other. Colon cancer, I think, is Clean Slate, 0N, Restore, Relive Greens. Maybe Give Me Back My Youth. Do you see a trend? Because the protocols are all the same. Do you know why? Because the problems are all the same. But it's just a matter of understanding the mechanisms behind everything address the hardware and the operating system. Just like they said in the Matrix, when it comes to diseases and syndromes and disorders, there is no spoon. There is no disease, disorder, or syndrome. There's only a bunch of symptoms that are caused by an underlying cause, a root cause, that those symptoms are given a diagnosis. But if you understand how to address the root cause and the dysbiosis, the disruptions that take place in the body due to that toxicity, then symptoms go away.
With the 3 to 4 minutes left, Duquesne, you want to move to Jennifer's question real quick just to get one more in?
No, that was Jennifer's question.
Oh, I'm sorry. There was a second hand raise, I believe.
Just as a heads up, because I see this question a couple times, the reason it's patent pending is because there are patents that have been approved that go into the creation of the products. Her patents are on formulation and the cleaning of products, not product specific. That is what Clayton is trying to say that is so different. And so there are several patented processes that go into these different products. The link I sent you shows that the patent for
Clean Slate.
well, no, that's what I'm saying. They're not patents. Yes, they're patents for how Clean Slate is basically created, and how the clinoptilite is broken down and further stuff. And so
I was gonna say, when you get on it, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 patents right at the top of the screen about the way that it's been formulated for this, what's in Clean Slate. So it's pretty interesting that there's different versions of that, like formula.
So when you understand those first 3 or 4 patents, those pertain to Clean Slate, Clean Spirits, Kodo, Environware, the lectin patent, I'd have to go back through them, and then all of the other protocol the protocol patents, but those are a foundation because clean slate and clean spirits are a foundation to, you know, everything that the Trinity is. And those three, clean slate, zero in, and restore, are the foundation for everything else. The the cold press nano emulsion patent that's on drcpatents.com is the intellectual property that's used to make restore. So that's really, 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 really valuable, by the way. If I'm not supposed to throw around numbers, but I'll throw around numbers because we had a KPMG analysis done to value some of this intellectual property, that the patent alone for cold press nano emulsions that's used to make restore is worth over $2.5 billion. So it gives you an idea of the value of what kind of tools you have in your toolkit. We're not playing with, oh, I heard this ingredient is beneficial. You're dealing with hardcore bioscience engineering that the biotech industry understands. And that's why we've gone all over the world, because those that know and understand the level of which Christina is working at know what she's done. We're trying to simplify this for everybody because we're taking a PhD, multi PhD bioscience engineer and trying to teach simple concepts with some of the most complex designs that have ever been created in nutrition. And listen to those podcasts with Blake and Amy because they break it down. Like the greens, listen to their greens podcasts. And then you'll find it's hilarious that AG1, who they analyzed, came up with a new and improved formula that still isn't even close to what Relive Greens is.
For those ambassadors that have, I think it was the Austria call, maybe the Germany call, they had asked for certain topics to be discussed and deep dives in, and 3 of those topics have already been uploaded onto that podcast link that Clayton shared. So the Relive Greens comparison to AG1 was based off those questions. So I had sent them out. I don't know if Mark is on here. I don't see him. I'd sent it over to him and some other ambassadors and never got responses, but they are on that Spotify if you all want to check them out.
And you should. And we hit our hour mark. You know what I have to say to that? Konnichiwa, my friends.
Thanks, everyone.
Awesome.
Thanks, you all.
Thanks,
Yeah.
guys. Have a wonderful week. Reach out if you need anything.